Everyone, we will now call to order the City of Joliet City Council meeting for today, Tuesday, June 6, 2023, at 6:30 p.m. here in the City Hall Council Chambers. We will be led today in the invocation actually by Councilman Pat Mudron, who will then lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pray for this council meeting tonight. Give the council members wisdom and guidance as they deliberate on the items before them. May every decision be righteous in your sight for your benefit and the glory. In the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Amen. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll begin with roll call. Mayor Darcy.
Here.
Councilman Cardenas.
Here.
Councilman Clement.
here.
Councilman Guerrero.
Here.
Councilman Hug.
Here.
Councilwoman Ibarra. Here. Councilman Mudron.
Here.
Councilwoman Coleman.
Here.
Councilwoman Reardon.
Here.
First on the agenda this evening is a proclamation recognizing Peyton Frazier.
Well, good evening, everybody. This is Peyton Frazier, one of Joliet's very own, and she's getting a proclamation tonight because wait till you hear what this girl has done. So let's get started, okay? All right. Proclamation, whereas Peyton Frazier is a junior at Joliet West High School. She was nominated for the 2023 Broadway in Chicago, Illinois High School Musical Theater for her role as Suzanne Prévost in Joliet West production of The Hello Girls. Peyton took part with over 200 students from 70 Illinois schools in the Broadway event in Chicago on May 22nd, 2023. She was only one of 12 nominees selected for Best Performance in an Actress Role. Peyton won the Best Performance in an Actress Role at the 2023 Broadway in Chicago, Illinois School Musical Theater Awards. Peyton now will represent the state of Illinois at the Jimmy Awards in New York City. She will participate in a one-night showcase on Broadway, where a panel of judges will crown the nation's top performances. So now, therefore, I, Terry Darcy, Mayor of the City of Joliet of Illinois, on behalf of the Joliet City Council, congratulate Peyton Frazier on her successful performance at the Broadway in Chicago, Illinois High School Musical Theater event, and wish her the very best of luck during the showcase on Broadway in New York City. And I want to add a little note here before we get into these applause. Peyton's dad is an employee here, and he's one of our engineers and facilities managers, but her grandpa was Robert, as known, Bob Frazier, who was the director of our finance department for many, many years. So we're all very proud of her. And so this proclamation signed June 6, 2023 by Mayor Terry Darcy of the City of Joliet. Congratulations. You have a camera, you have a picture? Yeah. Come on up here and meet the council and. Okay. Oh, you're standing. I'm sorry. Come on. What are you sitting there for? You're the mama.
We're all getting in. To do this better. Come on, let's get in.
Turn sideways and get everybody squeezing on it.
Oh, shoot. Those failures. I know. Just speak out here.
Sorry. Now, before you leave, I want your autograph, because when you be famous, I'll say, I knew her when.
Oh, here we go. Next is the approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as written?
So moved.
Second.
Been motion seconded to approve. Councilman Cardenas?
Aye.
Councilman Clement?
Aye.
Councilman Guerrero?
Aye.
Councilman Hug?
Aye.
Councilwoman Ibarra?
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin?
Aye.
Councilwoman Quillman?
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon?
Aye.
Mayor Darcy?
Aye.
Motion carried. Citizens to be heard on agenda items. Stephanie Lallam regarding Council Memo 265-23.
This is my first time doing this. I speak in front of kids all day. So my last name is actually Collum, C-O-L-L-O-M. I'm the owner of Educare, co-owner, I should say. I'm here to discuss the Starbucks that's going in adjacent to our location. I just have a few questions. I know you probably can't answer me back. I know how that goes. But just some things to think about for me. Is the developer currently aware of what the location adjacent to them, what our business is? And that's for safety concerns. I own an early learning center. I'm licensed by DCFS. I have up to 56 children on a daily basis, and my job is to teach them and keep them safe. And I have a lot of questions on how I'm gonna be able to do this with the location going so close to my fence that lines my property that has our playground on it, because the proposed location is going to be 5'9" away from my fence where cars are driving on a daily basis. That's super close to the playground, super close. Is the developer aware that we're a bus stop for a public school? Safety concern right there, because traffic's gonna back up on T. Hickey. The other thing with safety, I had a surveying crew come up and knock on our door. I was not available, I was out of town, I was in Mississippi. A phone call was made to me to let me know that a survey crew had been there. They wanted to gain access to our property. They were asked to contact me. They were given my phone number to call. They never called. Later in the day, they showed up on my property, went through 3 of my fence gates, helped themselves onto my property with children on the playground to continue their survey. Teacher questioned them. They responded, "It's okay for me to be here." The teacher brought the children in. I was called. A picture was sent to me. I then called the school from Mississippi where I'm visiting my daughter for college and asked them to walk the phone out to the surveyor. I said, "Are you on my private property without my permission?" And he didn't say anything for a minute. And he finally responded with, "Yes, I am." I said, "There are children present. You cannot be there right now. I need you to leave." And his response was, "I've already gotten what I've needed." That already has put a bad taste in my mouth. I'm supposed to keep these kids safe. I cannot lock those gates. We have to be able to go out those gates in case of an emergency. If there's a fire in my building, that's how we evacuate the building. I cannot lock those gates. The other thing is the traffic that I'm concerned about coming onto T. Hickey. You're gonna be closing one of the entrances that's closest to my location, but keeping the other entrance real close to Essington. So if you make a right out of my property onto Hickey to come up to Essington, 2 cars can fit there. The 3rd car now blocks that turn into where the Starbucks is gonna be going. So if anybody's sitting at that light, that 3rd car has blocked traffic to turn into Starbucks. If you're waiting on Essington to make a left onto Hickey, to then make a left into Starbucks, you have now backed up traffic because you cannot gain access to their parking lot. Which means I know that if I can't get in somewhere or I have missed my turn, I proceed further down and turn around. The first place to turn around is my parking lot. I now have children walking outside. Minute left, thank you. I now have children walking outside with their parents. What happens if somebody hits them? Sometimes kids let go of a parent's hand. Sometimes they run across and go on out. My biggest concern is safety. Car emission, sitting and idling in that drive-through right next to our playground. DCFS wouldn't even let me take my kids outside to my areas without certain fences and gates put in, so that people couldn't hit the kids. I had to pull big gates shut to do that. I cannot do that. I cannot safely do that There's no way. That privacy fence that we have is not gonna stop a car from going onto my playground or my yard at all. Sorry, I'm nervous. Traffic. I'm worried about traffic and I'm worried about the safety of the kids. I just ask that you take that into consideration. Sorry. Thank you.
Thank you.
David Collum, Council Memo 265-23.
I'm Dave Collum. You just heard from my wife. She's very emotional, as you can tell. Co-owner of EdCare, and also the property owner. That school has been there for 40 years this year, right? Hundreds of kids have played on that playground. They've learned to read there, they learned to write there. These are kids from 2 to 5, right? We're proposing having 12 to 13 cars idling during peak hours. That's, if you look at the plat, there's 13 cars in that drive-through line. It's gonna be continuous, right? From whatever time in the morning to whenever people get their coffee. Basically, the exhaust is facing right towards our playground, right? So we're very concerned about what that could potentially be. I don't know if there's been studies or whatever, but it's definitely concerning from a health perspective. Also, that outside lane where people pass around the drive-through line when people are exiting in a hurry to get to work, again, 5 feet from a fence where kids are on the other side playing on playground equipment, 2 to 5-year-olds, right? So we're concerned about the potential issue with that, someone jumps the curb or whatever. I don't see any proposal on there for any special barrier or anything that's gonna control the either emissions or any kind of, fence or something that would protect children in the case of a traffic incident. The other issue, longer term, again, this school's been there 40 years. TLC just closed this month in Joliet. They're moving their preschool to, I think, Homer Glen. We're taking a lot of their kids in. We may not be able to continue to operate if DCFS changes the rules, or we have to get relicensed. Or if we sell this, right? I'd like to retire someday. If I go to retire and sell the school, they may not relicense the school because of the proximity of this lane to the playground, which means we would have to sell this as another kind of business, right? So now you're losing more childcare opportunities. And everybody knows, it's an important thing for parents, right? You gotta be able to have childcare for your kids. So a big concern long-term is whether or not DCFS will become, a lot of times the licensing rules will allow you to grandfather in, so it will continue to be owned. But then if there's a change in ownership, they'll not approve that. So then we have a playground that we can't use, we won't be able to run a school there. Noise is a bit of a concern. We're not quite sure. It's hard to tell with the drive-through speaker will be facing the playground. These kids, they're small, they nap. We don't know how, if we're gonna be able to hear it in the school. So that's a concern, but we don't know how big of a concern. Traffic, I don't wanna rehash what she said, but traffic obviously is gonna be a concern, but I saw on the application, it just says no traffic inside. I don't know if there was a traffic study done. We'd like to see what that is. I know by looking at the current proposal, people are not gonna come in the entry off of Essington, right? It's too far down. You're not gonna see it, right? Until you're right top Starbucks. It's kind of like the Ace just down the street, right? Nobody comes in that side entrance, they go in the front one. So I'm a little bit concerned that everybody's gonna turn on to Essington or on the T Hickey from Essington and cause a backup. Lastly, I think that, we're not anti-development, right? We don't have an issue with that. Our concern is really this drive-through, the amount of traffic, how it's situated with our property, right? It's just so close. 6 feet is a minuscule amount, and literally there are little play structures right on the other side of that fence. So hopefully you guys can take a look at this and see if, I don't know if there's something else can be done, can be rearranged. Lastly, we're not sure it's listed as a multi-tenant. I don't know if another tenant is listed. We know Starbucks is one. I don't know if there's another one there. I don't see layout for 2 buildings, so we'd like to know a little bit more about what the second tenant structure is going to be. All right, thank you. Thank you.
Adam Polnick, 265-23.
I'm speaking as a resident of Warwick 5 and a parent. My child goes to EduCare. I'm looking at the development with many lenses. You know that data shows there's a positive correlation between Starbucks, it's within a quarter mile of an existing property. I guess if you look at that, it's great for property values, but it's also, if you look at another lens, it's another potential conflict of interest if anyone lives in Warwick 5. I support the development under a few conditions paid for by Starbucks or the city for approving that the drive-through being that close to the property line. There should be like a 10-foot barrier fence. That'd be both beneficial to Starbucks, put a mirror on both sides. The school would be great. It has to be impact-proof in case someone jumps the curb. There will be more traffic along the fence. The toxic hazards such as cigarette butts, plastic, rodents, preventative chemicals for weeds, food waste, all of that could go under the fence if it's not a barrier fence. That would be the only thing I would be concerned about. Kids can grab things. There should be no parking signs along T-Hickey. It would make sense, especially along the EduCare property line. If you put that there, you're eliminating a lot of potential hazards. It should be also hashed out that way on the EduCare property line, that no one's gonna park there. It says emergency vehicles can get in. There should be no through traffic signs in the Warwick entryway. There's 3 entry points. If you put no through traffic signs, that eliminates things, and put speed bumps on T-Hickey, put speed bumps on Wake Island. That would make sense, and Delrose itself, because you can get in through Theodore. The other thing would be T-Hickey and Calla. There's nothing there. There's Chignoli, it's a empty lot, and then it's a pretty big intersection. You could just put a roundabout, then the through traffic can just turn around. It makes total sense. It would stop a lot of people turning around there. They just go to the next intersection, turn around. Everything I stated here is recommendations from the IDNR Playground Manual from the Illinois State and the 407 licensing standards from the DCFS. Now as a parent, I'm appalled that the surveyor entered the child facility when asked to leave 2 to 3 times. Those gates went through 3 gates and continued to do their job without even a hesitation. I want the name of the company that did the surveying. I would think that should be at least be released for an apology. And I would like to ask that your question regarding the renderings, the survey results, and the proposal of that development, if they are legally or ethically obtained at this point. Was there a conflict of interest? Did those people go into that survey, and are those mock-ups actually ethically produced at this point if someone went in there without permission? My child will not be endangered because of Starbucks. Any wrongdoing by the state, any wrongdoing by the development will be reported to the Office of Inspector General at the state level. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
John Murphy, Council Memo 273-23.
Good evening, members of the council. My name's John Murphy. I'm the attorney for the applicant and owner of the property at 235 Collins. I'm here to advise the council that available to answer any questions when the time comes, and also to mention that we've worked with staff on this matter. We support and accept all the conditions set forth in the staff recommendations in terms of the final ordinance. Thank you.
Daniel Bishop, 265-23.
My name is Daniel Bishop. I'm the father of one of the students that attends the EduCare Learning Center. My daughter's currently enrolled in the facility, and we commute, take Essington from Jefferson, so we see the busy traffic at the peak hours and during drop-off time around 9 a.m. The corner for the proposed Starbucks, as mentioned, has 2 car lanes, one very close to that fence line, right where my kid plays. I'm not really cool or comfortable with that as a parent, and I know it was previously sentimented. I know Starbucks is not going to create a hazardous, situation for my daughter by simply existing, but it creates a lot of what-if situations that aren't currently there. As mentioned previously, somebody's going to fly off the handle one day on that pass-through lane. It could hit the fence. I don't know, but right now I don't have to worry about that. I'm also concerned about any unnecessary pollutants, whether it comes from traffic, the idling traffic, noise, anything from over there. And I can't control the patrons that go there, whether it's going to be blasting music, and that's, disrespectful to the establishment and the neighboring establishments. They may not know or care that there's a preschool right behind them. The other thing too is, again, just the busy times, so it's traffic people have touched on. Oftentimes when I drop my daughter off at 9 a.m., I'm the first car there. Cars arrive all the way through 9:15, and usually that parking lot fills up very quickly, and one or two are going to have to park on the street to drop off their kid. That means they may be dodging Starbucks traffic, people rushing to get their coffees. Just creates an unsafe situation. And again, I understand a lot of it is a what if, but those what ifs aren't there right now, and I don't see a need to endanger our kids for that situation. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Dan Abdo, 265-23.
Hello, members of the council. My name is Dan Abdo. I'm the developer of the Starbucks. We're been a developer for 20 plus years. We've probably done over 20 of them. So let me start by saying I was unaware of any of this. This is the first I'm hearing of it. My apologies. Not only to, the surveyor, he's done work for us for 20 years. I've never experienced anything like that. So this is the first time I've ever had any sort of complaint. So again, my apologies, not only to members of the council, but to our neighbor as well, or hopefully our neighbor. So I understand the concerns, and I would like to address them to the extent we can on private property. This is the first I'm hearing of them, so I kind of need to, certainly fencing and protective barriers, those are things we can handle if we know about them and we sit down maybe with planning and come up with these kind of things to create a safe environment. We're absolutely open to that. Once I have time to deal with it, I can speak to it. This is all new to me, so I'm just hearing this tonight. So I'm here obviously to answer any questions, and we can address that and anything else anybody would like to discuss as well.
No questions. Thank you.
Sure.
Louis, you need to come up to the speaker, please. You know.
How everybody been doing? I have a question. Starbucks has 2 locations within 3 miles of each other, one at Lewis Mall and one on Jefferson Street. Why is it necessary for them to put one there? Because they'd have 3 locations within 7 miles of each other. Why is that so necessary? Because according from the location that they are at 1900 Essington Road, it's a Starbucks 1.8 miles from that location going to Lewis Mall. If you go back to Jefferson Street, it's 2.4 miles. Why is it necessary to put 3 Starbucks in a 7-mile span?
So Starbucks is, as their business is growing and some of these other stores are doing so much business, they're going and filling in locations where they see traffic patterns that either they're not servicing or maybe to slightly relieve another store that might need a little bit of relief. So they are doing stores this far apart for that reason. And this particular location was chosen because it is at an intersection, it is at a corner. And the design, and we can get into the design, I guess, in more detail when the timing's right or at any time, but we really design these things to max stack on the lot and keep the drive-through lanes away from the, keep them sort of hidden and quiet around the back and sides of the building. We rarely ever have a drive-through lane that's up on a main road. So the goal in the design is to create max stacking on the site before there's any stacking outside. So the design really allows itself to max stack, and that's why we've condensed it to just one access point. I think currently right now there's 2. But to your point, this location was chosen, A, because of where it's at, the intersection, and B, because it fills a void that the 2 other locations don't have.
Gentlemen, the public comment forum doesn't really allow for discussion like this, so.
He gave me permission. He asked, did I have any questions, but wouldn't it be beneficial for the city for them to bring it downtown as opposed on Essington Road?
This public comment just really isn't meant for a question and answer forum like this, so we just have to keep moving with the meeting.
Oh, so if there's any other questions, I'm happy to answer them. If you guys want to discuss the site plan or any more details, please let me know. I'm here.
Thank you.
Craig Crandall, 269-23.
Good evening. My name is Craig Crandall, here as the counsel for the petitioner on this matter. Just quickly want to recap a couple of issues or questions that you had last night at at the pre-meeting. As noted, we were before you back on August 16th. This matter, at that point, motion for approval was made. It failed for a second, and as indicated in the packet, that's why we're back here. We've worked closely with staff since that time, provided additional information indicating the financial incentives that will be coming to the city of Joliet through the operation of our proposed cannabis facility. Last night, a couple of issues came up. Just want to touch on those lightly. We understand, and I've been with this group, we've been before 6 or 7 municipalities, and oftentimes there are folks that just aren't on board with cannabis. We understand that, we respect that. Currently, it's allowed by state statute. Joliet has embraced it, hence we are here this evening. There's also an issue raised as far as the process and those who are able to get licenses. I have with me again this evening Matt Hagelin. Matt is the largest stakeholder in the entity Emerald Coast that we have. He's our social equity partner in this. I have him here this evening. If there's any other questions you may have, he gave kind of his background and how he selected to partner with Justice Cannabis. In most areas, the reason why there are partners of this nature is that most social equity folks that are allowed to get the licenses just don't have the background. And so groups such as Justice Cannabis are there and be able to support them and make sure that everything goes smoothly. Security was touched on, and generally it has been our finding and in discussions with the police that bringing a facility like this with the guards and all of that generally helps security in the area. There's a large number of cameras as well as the guards. In addition, we have always worked closely and offered many times direct feeds with the local police. We had that discussion prior to our appearance, working closely with all of you. Last but not least, will be a lot of, in addition to the economic incentives, a lot of jobs will be created here. Construction of this facility, we are supporting union labor as well as anything else we can do locally everywhere that we go. I have Matt with me this evening, also Mitch Zavodek on behalf of Justice Cannabis, if you have any other questions this evening. So thank you again for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Matthew Hagelin, 269-23.
Hey, how are you guys doing? Thank you for having me. Thank you for listening. Matthew Hagelin Jr. As Mr. Crandall said, I'm the social equity applicant, and I kind of explained my background and everything yesterday. So I just wanted to let you guys know, I've followed everything I was supposed to do. Pretty much everything, from what I understand, is legal. It's in the law. We're zoned correctly, and it's been a tough process. Pretty much we've been doing this for a few years, from applying for the license and then being held off for COVID and all that kind of stuff. So it's been a long process, but I will be the guy that'll be here if you guys do approve, and I do fit all of those requirements for the social equity applicant. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mitch Zavodek, 269-23. Is there anyone else that would like to speak on an agenda item this evening? Seeing none, we'll move on to appointments. First tonight, the mayor is recommending the following reappointments to the Fire Pension Board: Eric Mattson and Scott Matthews. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Been motion seconded to approve. Councilman Clement?
Aye.
Councilman Guerrero?
Aye.
Councilman Hug?
Aye.
Councilwoman Ibarra?
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin?
Aye.
Councilwoman Quillman?
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon?
Aye.
Councilman Cardenas?
Aye.
Mayor Darcy?
Aye.
Motion carried. Next, the mayor is recommending Dominic Orlando be appointed to the Plan Commission, replacing Bob Wunderlich. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Been motion seconded to approve. Councilman Guerrero?
Aye.
Councilman Hug?
Aye.
Councilwoman Ibarra?
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin?
Aye.
Councilwoman Quillman?
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon?
Aye.
Councilman Cardenas?
Aye.
Councilman Clement?
I'll abstain.
Mayor Darcy?
Aye.
Motion carried. Council committee reports. Diversity and Community Relations report.
So we just switched out new iPads, so I'm gonna do this largely from memory.
Boy, are you brave.
So, the Diversity and Community Relations Committee met here in the council chambers on, that would have been, let me get my bearings here, May 22nd at 4 p.m. With recommendation from, or the okay from legal that with new committee members, we could approve the minutes from the past meeting. We did so, and approve the minutes from the April 18th, 2023 meeting. We had a presentation on the Illinois Broadband Lab, which discussed some of the possibilities of extending broadband access to across the state of Illinois to rural residents, also to residents in urban areas who might be a bit underserved or have limited access to the internet. Identifying different categories, those who had no access at all, those who had, again, limited capacities. Had a quick discussion about, the necessity for broadband access, which we saw, of course, throughout the pandemic, as students were, attending school online, many people were working virtually. And so really going forward, broadband access should be considered almost as a utility as any other would be, as water, electricity. So there were a number of meetings held here. I believe we're still looking for survey responses from citizens to get a better understanding of where their current standing is with broadband access. We also brought in Ms. Andrea Tetelis Jordan once again to give us a presentation on diversity, equity, and inclusion. Went over a bit of what those terms meant, discussed sort of the different axes of identity and what we can do to make sure that our actions to promote diversity and equity are substantial and not just performative, which I think was really the key message of the presentation. We also discussed the possibility, there's been RFQs issued for redoing the council chambers here at City Hall, and we discussed the possibility of having some changes to allow for Spanish translation for all of our city council meetings, possibly to do that in real time, but we'll continue to discuss that. So we just got that conversation started, but we'll see where that leads. We also went over the community development block grants. We've got a number of applicants this year. We haven't committed to awarding any of those grants just yet, but we were given a presentation on who applied, and there was more applicants than we will have funds to be issued, so we'll have to make some difficult decisions. I think every applicant was, certainly we would like to award every applicant that come forward with us. I think they all presented great ideas, and we'd like to address all these issues in the community, but unfortunately we only have so many funds to work with. So we'll continue to review those applications, and we'll have decisions on those later this summer. So did I miss anything like that? Yeah, that would be my report.
Thank you.
Prison committee report.
Thank you. The City of Joliet Prison Committee met here in the council chambers on Wednesday, May 24th at 4 o'clock. In attendance was myself and Councilman Cesar Cardenas. We had numerous city staff, and we had the president of the Joliet Historical Museum, Greg Peerbolt, here as well. We approved the minutes from March 21st. That was, both of us approved that. There were no citizens to be heard on agenda items. Greg Peerbolt jumped into a little presentation here in reference to the prison. For 2022, this is about all the people that attended. There were many tours there. The self-guided tours, 8,017
people attended that. The guided history tours, 1,857. The Prison After Dark tour, 2,034. Guard tours, 301. Photography tours, 29. Private tours, 2,401. And then that totals 14,639. And then including these events, the Blues Brothers and the car shows and cruise night brought in, Blues Brothers brought in 5,705 people, and the car show and cruise night brought in 21,050. So a total of 22,494 attended the prison last year, 2022. He also jumped into, let's see, there is a upcoming car show June 18th from 12 to 6 at the prison. And he also mentioned that there are a couple other events coming up. He will notify us and the public in the next week or two. I think the Herald News or others broke the Blues Brothers, so that's not a secret anymore. So in this presentation, he talked about the maintenance and safety of the prison. He buttoned up a lot of these buildings that you could gain access to. So we made those safe. He repaired the tunnel and the sinkhole that was reported there on the north end of the property. He wanted to thank the city of Joliet very much for all the work and the staff and everything that they did to make all the events successful. In 2023, the construction schedule, April 20th, the bid packages went out, and May 5th, the contractor interview happened. May 22nd, the bid was awarded to Berglund Construction, $5.5 million. And the following four key structures that will be tackled, the administration building, the east and west cell houses, the chapel, and the hospital will be tackled this summer, or this year. Lastly, there is 2 grants that were approved. They're just waiting on the arrival of the funding. 3.5 million from the state and 3 million from the federal, from feds. There are some outstanding invoices that are due from current contractors. 131,496.43. Greg was asking if the city could front the 131,496.43 until the funding would come in. They're expecting it to come in August. We thought as a committee we would move this because of the finances to the finance committee, and then we could deal with it from there. So that is if there's no questions or anything from you.
I have a question, Mayor.
Yeah, go ahead.
So all those grants are only for the prison, none for the museum itself?
You know, I'm gonna have to ask that, find that out. I'm not sure. I believe so, but I'm not sure.
And what's the 130 that he wants
Yeah,
us to
so
front?
last year, there was work completed, which equaled 131,496 and some change
For the prison or for the museum?
for the prison.
Okay.
So, and these are invoices that are due. These people are still working here. They understand the circumstances, and they're looking to, Greg was looking to see if the city would front the monies till the grant money comes in, the 3.5 from the state and the 3 million from the federal. So we thought it was best to not make the decision there, to kick it to finance to see, to handle it on that end and then bring it back. And I did mention it to Councilman Mudgeon as well, just that it could potentially be coming his way.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. That's my report, Mayor.
Thank you.
Yep.
Public Safety Committee report.
Yes, we had quite a long meeting, long agenda, so I'm just gonna go touch over this. On the committee is Councilman Reardon, Councilman Clement, right? Clement?
Yeah, that's fine.
And myself as the chair. And we were able to approve our minutes because Councilman Clement and myself were on the committee before. We had citizens to be heard on agenda items, and then we went over the purchases. So these are really gonna be the Cliff Notes versions of this meeting. So what we approved was additional license plate reader cameras and approval of a 5-year service agreement with Flock. And we did that to get the discount, and these cameras have very much proved themselves to be worth every penny we've paid for. Request to approve the purchase and uplift of 35 Dodge Squad vehicles not to exceed $2,300,000. Request we purchase, install 35 ISPERN radios from ABEEP Communications for $44,696.40. We approve the purchase of 4 Ford F-450 ambulance chassis from Rontabelli Ford. And 2 of them will be ready in August, and the other 2 will be ready in November. Request to purchase 4 airbag restraint systems for the previously approved ambulances for $30,000. These are airbags for the fire department. That when the paramedics are working in the back of ambulances to protect them if there's an accident as well. The web-based fire inspection program, which will be in Excel. And that basically is a citizen info thing, so citizens can log on to this and they can give like a layout of their home and if there's children in the home, so if there is a fire there, they can go on the website, this will pop up and the fire department will know exactly where to go to find people. And any citizen in the city of Joliet can apply for that or just go online for that when it's up and running. And let's see, the LifePak monitored defibrillator devices for the fire department from Stryker in the amount of $197,296.20. And let's see, the resolution, we approved intergovernment agreement with the Plainfield Community Consolidated School District for the Resource Officer Program. And we approved a resolution approving interagency agreement between the City of Joliet and the Joliet Job Corps Center. So I'm doing this because there's great detail on every one of these purchases, and Mr. Price from the fleet was here, and he's going to come to the city council to explain all these purchases to the council as a whole, because it was quite detailed in the monies and where the monies were coming from and why they were needed and why they were the best. And anybody else have anything to add to that?
That's good.
Yeah, that was, so at the end, we had public comments, and since we are a public safety committee, we had many people here that were concerned about what had happened in the city the other day about the lack of communication. So as it happened, the chief of police was here, the deputy chief was here, and they spoke to us, but they were able to create a dialogue of their frustrations, and they gave some suggestions of what could be done. So we listened to that as the public safety committee for the city of Joliet. We listened to that, and the chief did get involved with the deputy chief after the meeting. And the one thing that came out of it was the one lady was talking about she really wanted cameras all along the Des Plaines River to a certain point. And I said, well, it was just on the agenda, and we did pass that tonight, which the flock cameras are going to be coming to the City of Joliet Council for approval. And up to a certain point, we will have cameras along the Des Plaines River. And also there was another item suggested that signs will be put up, call 211. Okay, some people, they explained it, you know, if they're gonna commit suicide, they might see that, they might call that for help. But if not, then other folks will be able to see something and they can call 211 and help them. And also there was consideration of explanation about a fence along the canal. We've talked about that many, many times. That's an IDOT issue, we know. And so this is something that we might have to discuss with IDOT. Maybe, if not a fence, maybe a brick wall of some sort, because I've seen other communities have brick walls along their rivers and their canals. But that was just a suggestion. So we listened, and it was a very, very good meeting. I mean, anybody want to add anything to that?
No, it's good.
Nope,
Joe?
you're good.
Okay, that concludes our very quick report, but it was quite detailed.
Thank you.
Public Service Committee report.
Public Service Committee met here in council chambers yesterday at 4:30 in the afternoon. On the committee and present at the meeting was Councilman Guerrero, Councilman Mudrin, and myself. Also in attendance were several members of staff from both Public Works and Public Utilities. We had 7 contracts that we looked at, pretty routine. 3 of them had to do with repairs within the Public Utilities Department for 2 well pumps and an HVAC system at the Ostable wastewater treatment plant. We looked at all the contracts, which were all legally published and bid, And so we looked at the bid, the open bid and the winners, and we vetted it and found them to all be in order. We did, award the final, sidewalk and curb replacement portion of our $1.1 million expenditure on sidewalks this year for $297,190. Let me backtrack, we didn't award, we recommended that this council award. That's the fourth contract, to Austin Tyler Construction. So we looked through all 7 contracts and found them all to be in order. And, under change orders, pay estimates and final payments, we had, several items, nothing out of the ordinary, balancing of materials, increase in certain projects, that needed more labor and material than originally thought, on the preliminary engineering. So we looked at all the items under change orders, pay estimates, and final payments, and again, found them to be in order. And, under ordinance resolutions, we had 3 items. And, 2 of them were housekeeping, whether or not to pay for what we already recommended for approval by approving, funds from the motor fuel tax fund, to be used for them. And then there was a licensing agreement with the Forest Preserve District of Will County, concerning the Laraway Road, water main improvement. We need to get that agreement with them. It cost us $5,461.32, in order to run our pipe under a portion of Laraway that for some reason, the Forest Preserve owns that portion of the road. That's no explanation how they would come to own it, but they do, so we did address that. And we looked at the, list of roads for next year's roadway reconstruction program, just so people understand that's not resurfacing and sidewalks. That's the ones that we do, where we do a complete tear down of the road and rebuild it from the ground up again. And we always like to get way ahead, roughly a year ahead of time, so they can be engineered properly prior to going out for a legal bid. That was all of the, items. Every item on our agenda under all headings, unanimously was, approved for recommendation to this full council to approve it, which all of them will come up in 2 weeks. And that would be the end of the agenda items. Did I miss anything, Councilman?
I would just add that you raised the same question that I had, though the, Forest Preserve owns that portion of Laraway Road, it seems that we are responsible for maintaining it, which seems a bit odd to me.
Yes, they're charging us $5,500 for the right of way, okay, but yet we plow it for them. You're right. Boy, you're controversial tonight. Councilman, anything? Nothing? Mayor, that would be our report. Thank you, Councilman.
Thank you.
Stadium Committee report.
The Stadium Committee met on May 17th at 4. Present was myself, along with council members Joe Clement and Sherry Reardon. We did approve the agenda as advised by council. Heather Mills, general manager of the Slammers, gave a recap of the season, which includes the challenges of staffing shortages along with food and beverage challenges. The Frontier League end-of-season meeting was held in Joliet, at which all of the teams got together and shared ideas on how to provide a superior entertainment product. Heather told us that this season they hired a new food and beverage director and had already started seeing the benefits. Also, the Slammers are hosting soccer games, University of St. Francis games, baseball tournaments, and other events, which resulted in the stadium being used almost every day. City of Joliet Facility and Assets Manager Brett Frazier gave us an update on the renovations and maintenance projects at the stadium. The concourse area has been rehabilitated. LED lighting has been installed along with pitch clocks. The bathrooms have been renovated, as have the loading docks and the fire suppression system. We also discussed maintenance issues moving forward. And are there any questions?
Jerry? I have one.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. You go ahead.
You know, I would just add, we did have one public comment, and they were concerned about updating the bathroom facilities for ADA compliance, so that more people would be able to enjoy the facility. And so we want to look into some funding that might be available to do that.
Absolutely. That was good.
Yeah.
Mine is just, did they give a report on the Hall of Fame that was downstairs? It was renovated years ago, but they were using it for a lunchroom, and then they said they were gonna fix it up and start using it and, advertise it for meetings or other little parties. Did they say anything about that? This has been going on for years.
Yeah, they were talking about
They did?
working on that,
Oh,
yes, they
okay,
did.
good.
I forgot about it too until
And
you
I
just said
forgot
it.
you run- I forgot you run the committee.
No, I know, she
I do.
Can I just add
Are
one
there-
thing?
Yeah.
Thank you. They were averaging 2,500 people a night for these games, so I thought that was very, very
That's
good.
very good.
Yeah.
Also want to mention that I was able to enjoy the stadium with my daughter. They have a new vendor, it's Weiler Barbecue, and it is knock your socks off barbecue. So I know Pride Night is coming up, there's Italian Night coming up, there is also Princess Night coming up. If you have a chance to get out and enjoy it, please do. That concludes my report.
Thank you.
I show no other reports. Consent agenda, approval of the minutes. It's recommended the minutes of the pre-council meeting held on April 17th, 2023, the minutes of the council meeting held on May 2nd, 2023, the minutes of the pre-council meeting held on May 15th, 2023, and the minutes of the council meeting held on May 16th, 2023, stand approved as recorded. Council memo 253-23, 2022 Annual Treasurers Report. It's recommended this report be received and placed on file. Council Memo 254-23, award of contract to Videotech for physical security project in the amount of $105,478. Council Memo 255-23, award of contract for the 2023 sidewalk curb replacement project, contract B to Davis Concrete Construction in the amount of $281,725. Council Memo 256-23, award of contract for the 2023 sidewalk curb replacement project, contract C to J&J Newell Concrete Contractors in the amount of $251,300. Council Memo 257-23, award of contract for the Corus Street, Frank Avenue to Russell Street Roadway Improvement Project 2023 MFT to Austin Tyler Construction in the amount of $253,325.81. Council Memo 258-23, purchase of a personal accountability system for the Joliet Fire Department's emergency radios. Council Memo 259-23, professional services agreement for geotechnical services for the 2024 Water Main Rehabilitation Program to Seco Consultants in the amount of $65,902. Council Memo 260-23, change order number 1 for the Black Road Lift Station Modifications Project to Williams Brothers Construction in the amount of $142,064.95. Council Memo 261-23, change order number 2 for the Humboldt Road, Hollywood Road Roadway Reconstruction Project, MFT, to deconstruction in the amount of $10,082.66. It's recommended Council Memos 253-23 through 261-23 be approved. Is there a motion to approve all said consent agenda items?
So moved. Second.
It's been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilman Hug?
Aye.
Councilwoman Navarra?
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin?
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman?
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon?
Aye.
Councilman Cardenas?
Aye.
Councilman Clement?
Aye.
Councilman Guerrero?
Aye.
Mayor Darcy?
Aye.
Motion carried. Next is Council Memo 262-23, award of contract for the combined sewer overflow long-term control plan Phase 4 East Side and West Side combined sewer overflow regulators to deconstruction in the amount of $12,628,985. It's recommended Council Memo 262-23 be approved.
Second.
Oh, sorry. No, I just wanted to ask a question. If I see that Allison's not here, but if any of the other staff could just give us a quick explanation of sort of what this entails, sort of public here understands why it's necessary for us to spend, $12 million, which is certainly no small amount of money.
We don't have anyone from utilities in attendance tonight, so I can't answer that at this point.
Mayor, if you don't mind, we've been doing this for a while. This is required by the federal and state EPA. And so we continue to go towards final approval from them, and this is part of the cost of doing it. Now, as far as the engineering specs of it looking for, I can't give you that. But this is certainly a requirement on our combined sewer overflow of what goes into the freshwater creeks and canals. That's why it's important.
Yeah. So no, that's just thank you.
All right.
Like I said, I just wanted to have that put out there for, because we have a full house tonight, and yeah, if anybody's wondering why it's necessary to spend $12 million in a single contract, it's for compliance, as Councilman Hug said. So thank you, Councilman.
Thank you.
I heard a second, but I believe I didn't hear the
There's no
motion. So is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded to approve Council Memo 262-23. Councilwoman Ibarra?
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin?
Aye.
Councilwoman Quillman?
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon?
Aye.
Councilman Cardenas?
Aye.
Councilman Clement?
Aye.
Councilman Guerrero?
Aye.
Councilman Hug?
Aye.
Mayor Darcy?
Aye.
Motion carried. Council Memo 263-23, request to purchase 11 Navistar large dump trucks under the State of Illinois purchasing agreement for $2,433,910.82. It's recommended Council Memo 263-23 be approved.
Mayor, just again, same question, if we could get a bit more detail, again, large, multi-million-dollar purchase.
Yeah, this is part of our 5-year vehicle replacement program. We're requesting permission to buy vehicles as part of the 2023 year of recommended purchases, as well as pre-order 2024. Most likely, these vehicles will not be, none of these vehicles will be able to be delivered until late 2024. So we're requesting permission to approve these now. These are replacement vehicles for both public works and public utilities. The larger vehicles, the dump trucks, public utilities uses them for hauling materials, as well as water main digs, that type of thing, as well as snow plows for the Department of Public Works, replacing some rather old vehicles.
Okay, thank you.
Is there a motion to approve Council Memo 263-22?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilman Mudrin?
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman?
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon?
Aye.
Councilman Cardenas?
Aye.
Councilman Clement?
Aye.
Councilman Guerrero?
Aye.
Councilman Hug?
Aye.
Councilwoman Ibarra?
Aye.
Mayor Darcy?
Aye.
Motion carried. Under licenses and permit applications, Council Memo 265-23, an application for a drive-through permit for a Starbucks restaurant at 1900 Essington Road. It's recommended this drive-through permit be approved.
I'd like to
Mayor,
make
may
a
I-
motion to
Whoa,
deny.
whoa, whoa, please, let me, we talked earlier, if you don't mind, Councilwoman, can I just wanted to comment. I wanted to apologize. I want to thank the people that came out, the Educare owners, as well as some of the residents. Got a lot of calls. I will take full responsibility for dropping the ball on this. I did not drill deep enough. While I talked to a lot of folks, there was a lot of questions I did answer, but there were some that were very good questions as you demonstrated tonight. So with that, I wanted to explain that and let people know. That's on me, nobody else. And that I would make a motion to table, remanding it back to committee for a more exhaustive review, at which time the petitioner will have a chance to speak, as well as residents, and then we can reconsider and see whether or not the recommendation is the same or not. We don't know until we have that hearing. So I would make a motion to table, and you always ask for, Krista, a date to come back, following remand to the committee, review and reconsideration, and then after that's done, bring it back here.
Second.
It's a motion seconded to table Council Memo 265-23 to be brought back to committee, after which it will be brought back to council. Councilwoman Coleman?
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon?
Aye.
Councilman Cardenas?
Aye.
Councilman Clement?
Aye.
Councilman Guerrero?
Aye.
Councilman Hug?
Aye.
Councilwoman Ibarra?
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin?
Aye.
Mayor Darcy?
Aye.
Motion carried. Council Memo 265-23 was tabled to go back to committee before coming back to council.
Mayor, one more comment. And I want everybody to know, not only is this in my district, District 1, this is at the entrance to my own subdivision. And I did not drill deep enough on this. So, again, I always tell people, everybody's wrong sometimes. One time I thought I was wrong, but I was mistaken. Now I was wrong. So, thank you.
Record that, will you?
There you go.
Moving on, under ordinances, Council Memo 269-23. I'm sorry, under public hearings, Council Memo 267-23, a public hearing for resolution approving the First Amendment to the annexation agreement for 620 Sandal Place and 800 Richard Street. It's recommended this item be tabled.
So moved.
Second.
It's in motion and seconded. Council Memo 267-23, the public hearing and the resolution be tabled. Councilwoman Reardon.
Aye.
Councilman Cardenas.
Aye.
Councilman Clement.
Aye.
Councilman Guerrero.
Aye.
Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Councilwoman Ibarra.
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman.
Aye.
Mayor Darcy.
Aye.
Motion carried. Council Memo 269-23, which is under ordinances, an ordinance approving a special use permit to allow an adult use cannabis dispensing organization located at 2211 West Jefferson Street. It's recommended that ordinance be adopted.
Mayor.
Yes.
I do this quite often. I contacted the chief of police. I always do this for, I shouldn't say always, most of the time for new liquor license or other locations. You know, everybody talked about, you know, crime in these locations. So I had the chief pull calls for service, and I just, for disclosure, there were 91 calls for service in 2 years on the Colorado address where the dispensary is. And then on Rock Creek, there were 52 calls for service over the past couple years. And I mean, for me, ex-police officer, and we deal with these types of things, I thought they were kind of high. I'm just going to be honest with you. And we had different calls from alarms to lockouts to juvenile disturbances. What else we have? Batteries. I mean, we have all kinds of different calls here. Nothing that I could see that were really, really serious, but I just want a full disclosure of the calls for service at the 2 locations here in Joliet. So, hope that's helpful.
Thank you.
I'll move to deny. I don't think that's the right place for this
I'll second.
dispensary.
Been motion and seconded to deny Council Memo 269-23, which is an ordinance approving a special use permit to allow an adult use cannabis dispensing organization located at 2211 West Jefferson Street. Councilman Cardenas.
Aye.
Councilman Clement.
Aye.
Councilman Guerrero.
Oh.
Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Councilwoman Ibarra.
No.
Councilman Mudrin.
Yes.
Councilwoman Coleman.
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon.
Aye.
Mayor Darcy.
Aye.
Motion carried 7-2. Council Memo 269-23 was denied. Council Memo 270-23, an ordinance amending the 2023 annual budget for the city of Joliet, quarterly newsletters. It's recommended said ordinance be adopted.
So moved.
Been motion seconded to approve. Councilman Clement.
Aye.
Councilman Guerrero.
Aye.
Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Councilwoman Ibarra. Councilman Mudrin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman.
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon.
Aye.
Councilman Cardenas.
Aye.
Mayor Darcy.
Aye.
Motion carried. Council Memo 271-23, an ordinance approving a record plat of Ashford Place, PUD, Unit 2B. It's recommended that ordinance be adopted.
So moved.
Second.
Been motion seconded to approve. Councilman Guerrero.
Aye.
Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Councilwoman Ibarra.
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman.
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon.
Aye.
Councilman Cardenas.
Aye.
Councilman Clement.
Aye.
Mayor Darcy.
Aye.
Motion carried. Council Memo 272-23, an ordinance approving a record plat of Whisper Glen, PUD, Unit 2A. It's recommended said ordinance be adopted.
So moved.
Second.
It's been motion seconded to approve. Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Councilwoman Ibarra.
No. Oh. Aye. Sorry.
Councilman Mudrin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman.
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon.
Aye.
Councilman Cardenas.
Aye.
Councilman Clement.
Aye.
Councilman Guerrero.
Aye.
Mayor Darcy.
Aye.
Motion carried. Council Memo 273-23, an ordinance approving a special use permit to allow a temporary staffing agency located at 235 Collins Street. It's recommended that ordinance be adopted.
I would also move to deny this one because we've been inundated with these temporary staffing agencies, and along that corridor, I think there's could be other businesses there. And at one time, I think we had a semi-moratorium against these temporary staffing agencies. So I make that motion to deny this.
I second that motion.
It's been motioned and seconded to deny Council Memo 273-23, which is an ordinance approving a special use permit to allow a temporary staffing agency located at 235 Collins Street. Councilwoman Ibarra?
Aye. Wait,
I would say to deny.
Yeah.
okay, deny, aye. I
It's a double
apologize.
negative,
It's okay.
double positive.
Don't worry, Councilman,
happens.
we've all been there.
Okay.
Councilman Mudrin?
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman?
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon?
Aye.
Councilman Cardenas?
Aye.
Councilman Clement?
Aye.
Councilman Guerrero?
Aye.
Councilman Hug?
Aye.
Mayor Darcy?
Aye.
Motion carried. Council Memo 273-23 was denied. Council Memo 274-23, an ordinance amending Chapter 2, Article 9, Division 8, the Foreign Fire Insurance Companies Board. It's recommended said ordinance be adopted.
So moved.
Second.
Been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilman Mudrin?
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman?
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon?
Aye.
Councilman Cardenas?
Aye.
Councilman Clement?
Aye.
Councilman Guerrero?
Aye.
Councilman Hug?
Aye.
Councilwoman Ibarra?
Aye.
Mayor Darcy?
Aye.
Motion carried. Moving on under resolutions, Council Memo 276-23, a resolution approving and authorizing the execution of a subrecipient award agreement for a community paramedicine program. It's recommended said resolution be adopted.
So moved.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilwoman Coleman?
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon?
Aye.
Councilman Cardenas?
Aye.
Councilman Clement?
Aye.
Councilman Guerrero?
Aye.
Councilman Hug?
Aye.
Councilwoman Ibarra?
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin?
Aye.
Mayor Darcy?
Aye.
Motion carried. Council Memo 277-23, a resolution relating to participation by elected officials in the Illinois Municipal Retirement Fund. It's recommended said resolution be adopted.
Move to approve.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilwoman Reardon?
Aye.
Councilman Cardenas?
Aye.
Councilman Clement?
Aye.
Councilman Guerrero?
Aye.
Councilman Hug?
Aye.
Councilwoman Ibarra?
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin?
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman?
Aye.
Mayor Darcy?
Aye.
Motion carried. Next is Council Memo 278-23, a resolution authorizing execution of a lease amendment regarding 1599 John Page Drive. It's recommended said resolution be adopted.
So moved.
Second.
Been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilman Cardenas?
Aye.
Councilman Clement?
Aye.
Councilman Guerrero?
Aye.
Councilman Hug?
Aye.
Councilwoman Ibarra?
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin?
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman?
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon?
Aye.
Mayor Darcy?
Aye.
Motion carried. Council Memo 279-23, a resolution appropriating motor fuel tax funding for the Cora Street, Frank Avenue to Russell Street roadway improvement project, 2023. It's recommended said resolution be adopted.
So moved.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilman Clement?
Aye.
Councilman Guerrero?
Aye.
Councilman Hug?
Aye.
Councilwoman Ibarra?
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin?
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman?
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon?
Aye.
Councilman Cardenas?
Aye.
Mayor Darcy?
Aye.
Next is new business not for final action or recommendation.
I have something.
We're coming down the line.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I have nothing.
I wanted to raise a question. We tabled, I just might have missed it, but we tabled earlier an agenda item. Where is it here? Which number? The quarry. Here we go. 267-23, amendment to annexation agreement at 620 Sandal Place. Did we have a date on when that would be brought back?
Yes. It's June 27th at Noel Park at 6:30. I was gonna announce that under public comments, but that, council comments, but that's okay. And this was done because, the attorney, Mr. Washburn, wanted to make sure that all the postcards went out for all the, within 1,000 feet and made a more local, location rather than have it at the VFW way down south. So it was either this or the library, and Noel Park was available. So, and he wanted to do that to get, again, to make sure all the postcards get out to all the notified residents and make it a local place to meet, so it wouldn't be no hardship on anyone. And then after that meeting, it's going to come to council, that's my understanding, so in July.
July 18th, I believe.
Okay.
I'll wait till council comments, thank you.
Just the new business, that was mentioned of public safety. I mean, I know we've talked about it before, I've talked to the police department, but maybe we can get somewhere either with the Army Corps of Engineers or IDOT, who runs that, to get some type of barrier up along the canal. So maybe we could take a look at that, because I know people have been talking and calling and just getting nowhere, and including me. I've talked to some state senators as well, so we have to come together as a council perhaps, because it seems to be where everything's been happening lately. That's all I have.
As you know, we all received 3 different options for recruitment possibility, companies that could do some recruiting for our new city manager. And I'd like to open the discussion for us all to kind of talk about it and give our HR department some direction as to who we might want to get a proposal from.
Is the HR department gonna make a recommendation?
Can we do this without being on the agenda?
You can discuss it under new business.
Discuss it? Oh, okay. I want to make sure. Just discussion. All right.
So just a little background with the recruiting piece. We reached out to 6 different recruitment firms and received 3 declinations, and the 3 that you received for consideration were those that stated interest in performing a search. So one, as you know, in the package is local. They're located in Northbrook, and they could come to the city of Joliet for in-person discussion and meetings. The other 2 are out of state and could come in, but that would be at the city's cost. Mostly part of the package that you received in quote, but they are not located in the state of Illinois. So that would just be for your consideration. They are not local companies, but all 3 of them have done pretty intense searches in the field of government positions. So the 3 that were presented have experience in this area, gave some pretty considerable references that you saw that were attached. Do I have a specific recommendation? I think all 3 of them would do fine. I think it's more of an appetite for the cost. There were some varying costs that were associated with each search. Obviously, one company is located in Washington, one company is in Northbrook, one company is scattered throughout the United States. That does speak to their footprint and what they're able to bring as far as networking. But I can't say that I would recommend one specifically. I think all 3 would probably do an extensive search and produce some candidates for consideration.
That being said, do you think we should, with the Washington one, I noticed that all of their references were all far west states. So to me, that seems like it would limit their ability to, or well, I guess not. I mean, it could be just a Western person, but.
Yeah, I don't know that it would limit their ability. I think their strength is in that area because that's where they're located, obviously. But I think they could still perform a search. Has that been their strength outside of that area though? No.
Yeah.
What do you want to start with?
Well, I left my folder. What is the name of that one that was the Washington one?
So the Washington recruiting company is GMP Consultants.
Thank you.
I reviewed these and I think that, from my experience, typically something that's more local is a little bit easier to navigate things with. A lot of times you've got somebody flying in, flying out, you just don't have as much connectivity. It's not quite as easy to work with. So, and I know that, the more local one does have a national reach, but their headquarters are here close to us, so it could make it logistically easier to work with them. They're a short drive away as opposed to a flight away, so to me, it just makes it a little bit easier to work with them.
And that would be GovHR.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mayor? I would agree. I think GovHR out of Northbrook, I do believe our HR director in saying they're all equally capable for doing this job, so why add the additional expense and the scheduling nightmares that you might come up with somebody so far away on the far west coast, as an example. So I would support GovHR as well.
I would support as long as we have different people this time.
Different people
Not
working
candidates, I'm
through-
talking about GovHR personnel.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Because I know the one gentleman retired, and then the one that we had the second time, not a fan.
We'll request a different search team.
Thank you.
I would support that as well.
Okay.
Support GovHR.
Yeah, for the reasons stated out, GovHR, you follow me.
GovHR.
So Kathy, are you able to get us a proposal at this juncture, or do we need to have a meeting where we vote to have you go forward?
Well, they provided an initial recruitment fee.
Okay.
On the back of the sheet that you were given, there's some initial fees. There's an initial fee structure that you can see. And they are providing also a 12-month guarantee for a selected candidate.
So what do we?
Can we initiate contact then again too?
So you can direct the HR to initiate contact. We would obtain a formal contract, which would then be put on the agenda for a formal vote.
Okay. So I think that'd be our direction. Go ahead and have them formalize the contract.
Okay, thank you. Any other new business? Next is public comments. Is there anyone that would like to speak under public comments this evening?
Good evening. Thank you for this opportunity. To our mayor and city council, I'm glad to be here this evening. My name is Minister Mary White. I live in Joliet, Illinois. I live on the east side. I was born here, went to school here, elementary. I've been, and I pray. And I've been praying a lot for our city. I love Joliet. I love the people of Joliet. And I love the fight of the people of Joliet, because we don't give up and we don't give in, and that's every area of Joliet. And it was just put in my heart to remind you that everyone that is appointed on the city council are there because God has allowed you to take these positions. And that to remind you that the struggle is not against any individual, but our struggle is against rulers, against authorities, against the powers of this dark world, against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. And in that, because people are praying for you constantly around the clock on every part of this community, this is a real thing. So that, and we know what we are up against, because it's not flesh and blood, it's not a person. But the thing about it is that you all have a choice to make the right decisions for the people of our city, in every area of our city. The right decisions, the just decisions. And as we look around, we know, drownings, shootings, mental health. We know the issues that impact our whole city. And if anything impacts one block of the city of Joliet, it is impacting the whole city. It does not matter where you live. It does not matter. East side, west side, north side, south side. It does not matter. And so I want to encourage you, when you make those decisions, to be mindful of why you are there. Because God is watching. He is the one that have allowed you to be in the position that you are as you make decisions for the health, the well-being, the growth, the prosperity, the expansion of our city, of men, women, of all ages, children, for our youth, for our young adults, for our seniors. It is a lot going on here. And so that I just want you to be encouraged to operate out of a spirit of integrity and to hold each other accountable. Because we here in the city of Joliet, we will hold you accountable, because that's part of our job. And not to be disrespectful to each other. I have brought my daughter to the council meetings, and she did not want to be here. But because of the disrespect and the things that went on, she loved it because it was better than some television shows. And so then we have to conduct ourselves as the people who are representing us, doing what it is for the betterment of us and you as a whole. And so this is all that I wanted to say. This was put on my heart to say, and I wanted to say it in a spirit that is one of love, one of integrity, and one of truth. And so the only way that I could do that was to give you the word of God so we know what we are against. And we pray over you. We pray for every space in this place, for it to be cleansed, for every unclean spirit that is here to be removed, demolished, dismantled, and for a new thing to go on in this city council and for our city. Thank you.
Thank you.
Megan Cooper, Joliet. Good evening. I've been down here quite a few times, so most of you guys know me. But however, this is my first time before this council. I was asked by Margie C. Brown, who was not able to actually be here tonight, to come and speak on the tabling of item number 267-23. This is the 5th time I do believe that this has been tabled. This should have never been brought forward until it was ready. So we've been getting phone calls from residents that are concerned and should know whether or not if they should come down so that they can be heard. But every time that a city council meeting comes up, it's being tabled. This needs to be put off the agenda, period, not tabled until it's ready. Second off, Margie did email Mr. Caparelli and ask him for the studies that had been done, all studies. We want the studies, whether or not if they were done by a company that was hired by PT Vero, or if it was independent, unredacted studies. We are intelligent enough to be able to read for ourselves, to be able to comprehend what's going on so that we can formulate our own questions so that we can be ready for this community meeting that will take place on the 27th. Without these, how does the community even know what to ask? How do they even know what to expect? Because I can listen to whatever comes out of anybody's mouth, but what's on paper, it's hard to dispute it because it's written. So we are asking for full disclosure and unredacted reports concerning the blasting on Richard Street. And I'm here for another thing is with the Alessio project. I was getting phone calls a couple weeks ago stating that the Alessios had started back work. And I did reach out to council, and it was explained to me that the city of Joliet had come to an agreement with the Alessios so that they didn't have to go back to court with the property that's over there. However, the residents in the nearby areas would like to know what this agreement is, because this property impacted their lives. And it's in their communities. They should be well aware of what this agreement was. What does this mean to their property value? What does it look like? So we are also asking for that as well. And I just want to say thank you all for your service. And I know it's not easy being up here, but we all can agree to disagree. And at times people have been disrespected. And we're all here for one common purpose that I hope for is to make Joliet better. Better than the day before, better than the next hour, better than the next minute. I am a product of Joliet. Joliet grade school, Joliet Junior College. I love Joliet, and I'm sure that you guys do too. That's why you were up on this podium, and therefore you love its people. So let's just keep that in mind. Thank you.
Thanks, Mayor.
Mayor,
Yes.
we can clear up right now if you allow it, the one issue about the Alessio property. Jim, you want to explain it? She called me and I called Jim and I explained to Megan, what the agreement was.
Yeah, so a group of staff members, including legal staff, met with the Alessios on site a month or two ago, and they provided a site plan done by their engineer that we accepted to pull off all the parking situation away from the creek off the residential zoned area, to provide landscaping along the adjacent residential with fencing that would include security screening slats within it to block visibility from that. So landscaping, fencing, and pulling off all the commercial parking lot from that residential zoned area. The area closest to Alessio Drive will remain parking. What is left along the creek will be storm detention areas. So not lakes, but if there was flooding in the area, those would collect the water before draining properly. So all this was reviewed by planning, public works, building department was there. Legal department continues to work with the Alessios. This is what has been agreed to. If they don't, continue down this road with this approved agreement, then legal would pursue action still. But that is what was approved by staff and the Alessios at their site.
Thank you, Jim. Is that good enough, Megan? Megan? That's what I told you when you called me. I gave you that same report.
Yes, I'm not sure. I would like to know, it'll probably be a follow-up
Yes.
on another council meeting.
Okay.
Because I can't speak for the neighborhood themselves.
Okay, that's fine. We really shouldn't be doing this, but it was allowed because I knew we could address that right away, so, okay? Thank you, Mayor.
Anyone else like to speak under public comment?
Suzanne, you want?
Yeah, I had something to add to that. She wanted a paper copy. Can you provide her with a paper copy? Is there any reason you can't provide her with a paper copy of it?
I'll double check with our legal department, but if they're okay with it, I could definitely provide her that plan.
Okay, thank you.
Quinn Adamowski, 520 Knox Place. For once, I'll be brief. And this should be first, no surprise to anybody here. I just want to say thank you for doing the right thing. Second, I did not catch everything about the Starbucks, but anytime a Starbucks wants to come east of Larkin, by all means, just saying. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Anyone else that would like to speak?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I'm Jeff Gregory, the president of the Joliet Pride Network, and apparently my colleagues are all shy because they're supposed to be standing next to me. There they come, a little encouragement. We're here tonight to provide you all with a gift from our organization, a little bit about us, and I think we've worked with each and every one of you, so it might be a little repetitious, but we're a community organization. We're about 3 years old, and our mission is to provide safe spaces for members of the LGBTQ+ community in Joliet. We appreciate all of the support that we've received from almost all of you at our events. Also, your financial support on an individual basis. We're very lucky to receive that, and we recognize that, and we appreciate that. One thing I would like to ask you to consider with the gift we're going to give you, because of course with every gift comes a request, right? We would like you to follow in the steps of the State House in Springfield, the City Hall in Bolingbrook, Batavia, Geneva, Oak Park, Urbana, Aurora, St. Charles, Buffalo Grove, Will County, next week, the Joliet Township Building right across the hall. And we would like this pride flag, our gift to you tonight, to be flown proudly in the city of Joliet. Personally, I've been very, very fortunate in my life. I could afford to live in most communities, and I choose to live in Joliet because Joliet has the best of what this world has to offer. We have people who struggle every day to live. We have people who have probably never struggled in their life. And somehow we all figure out a way to live together and live in the same community and love each other. The flag we're going to give you tonight has nothing to do with being gay. It has everything to do with being proud of who you are and to accept and be proud of who everyone else is. So on behalf of all the support that you've given us and our willingness to always work with you in the future, regardless of what you do with this flag and this gift to you tonight, thank you so much for all that you do for us and for the city of Joliet. Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak? Seeing none, next is mayor and council comments.
No comment.
You know, this probably could have came under new business, but I'll bring it up now. The murals downtown, Mr. Mayor, I mean, I've had a few calls, I'm sure others have, they're just deplorable. And I'd like to tackle that. I mean, as soon as we can or figure out what we need to do. They do a lot of great history here in the city of Joliet, and I just think we really need to tackle that issue.
Don't we have an art commission? We have an art commission.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, so we'll have to, address it, but.
Sorry, I didn't mean, but I'm thinking,
Yeah,
I'm going
I just
through my
want to bring
head
it
here.
up,
Okay.
that it is an issue. And then secondly, I brought it up before under new business, the parking study for downtown. I don't know if it's available. I'd like to see it and have all the council get a chance to read it. Again, I'm gonna keep going with this removal of the parking meters. I took a part-time job. I'm all over the state of Illinois, and most communities do not have these parking meters. It's just not, they just don't have them. So that's kind of the avenue I'd like to go down, and those are my comments. So.
A few things here. I'm not sure if anybody else is aware of the Illinois EPA air quality warning or advisory that's out now. If you have an iPhone, you can check it out in about 3 seconds on your weather app. Air quality here was addressed for the entirety of northern Will County. There's an advisory that air quality at this current moment may be unhealthy for sensitive groups, so people who have existing respiratory conditions. So when we, I hope that the rest of the council keeps that in mind when we, make policy, when we make decisions about what kind of city we want to live in going forward. I want to take a moment to acknowledge Joliet Pride Network for coming here. Thank you for being here. I've been to a number of your events, and I think it was a good line that was said there, that this flag is about being proud of who you are. And for myself, as a cisgendered hetero man, I would be happy to have that flag outside of City Hall, because it also represents to me a willingness and a commitment on our end as a city that we will continue to protect our own, that we will continue to create a safe place and a safe community for everyone that lives here. With that in mind, I'd also like to take a moment to acknowledge some of the tragic violence that's happened here in our city over the last few days. Untimely loss of a number of lives, including just earlier today. There was also a tragic loss that we saw, not from one of our own residents, but working here in our city at Amazon MDW2. More details on that to come out. That's still an ongoing investigation, so I don't want to say too much, but if we could take a moment of silence just to acknowledge those that we've lost. And that, Mayor, thank you.
Thank you.
I have nothing.
As you might notice, we do not have Mr. Caparelli sitting with us tonight. And Mr. Caparelli's contract comes up July 12th. And we had notified him that we were going to do a search and that he was welcome to reapply for his position along with other folks that we're going to search for. So with that said, we kind of talked about extending it, and we made an offer, and Mr. Caparelli made an offer back. And it worked out that the best thing to do would be to part company, and we accepted his resignation. He will be paid out to the balance of his contract along with other monies owed to him. But I want to wish Mr. Caparelli well after 2.5 years of serving the city. And we hope that what other endeavor comes his way, he's successful and things are good for him. Left respectfully, both sides. So we will be on a search now for a permanent city manager. In the meantime, Kevin Singh is designated. He wasn't at the meeting, so he got the short straw, as they say. We are looking at some interim people because we know this search could take some time to do. And there are some folks that we're going to be talking to do that so that Kevin can continue as director of our finance department. So those are some of the things I want to bring to the table. I also, to go back to what Caesar said, I had a conversation with our fire chief, our police chief, some of the neighborhood folks that we need to get together, stop the violence in our community. A village raises the children, and we have to embrace that. And so I really want to work hard with all of us to get to the position where we can all feel safe all the time, everywhere, young and old. So those are just some of the comments. I think we have so many really great kids in our as we witnessed tonight with Peyton. We've got kids that are breaking 200-meter records. We've got JoJo, the boxer. We got so many great kids. We have to fortify the opportunity for them. And we need to do that as a city in the whole. Thank you.
So there was a shooting in my district on the east side, south end. A 16-year-old lost his life all too soon. I'd like to offer prayers for the family, but I'd like to offer solutions of what our police department can do to make the streets safer, and alternatives for the youth are really largely up to the community. I would love to have a town hall regarding that, because then there was another shooting in Caesar's district today. A 20-year-old lost their life in that district, and summer has just begun, has not even gotten underway. Also, really important, me and Caesar Guerrero are a part of the diversity committee, and he said something that is very important to me tonight, that he wants diversity to be not just performative. So I am an ally. I am a lifelong ally I am not sure. I've made a lot of phone calls about the flag being hung outside. This is already June 6th. This is what an ally looks like. I would like to see that flag flown. I'd like to know who is the person in charge of saying whether that could be flown or not. It's a very pretty flag. If you are offended by it, just ignore it, like you do all the shooting victims and everything else. But this is what an ally looks like, and I would like to see that flag flown. And thank you to Joliet Pride Network for being here tonight. Thank you. That concludes my report.
Citizens, we are all here because of some very, very important veterans, men and women. 79 years ago today was D-Day, which changed the tide of the war, and as we all know, ended in our favor. I don't know anyone or any children from anyone who was at the invasion. Most of us here, we've seen pictures. I can't imagine how it really was there. But I owe my life to those men and women, and just have a moment in your heart sometime to thank them.
Thank you, Pat, because you said it much more eloquently than I was going to say today, so absolutely.
You can add to it.
I totally agree with it. D-Day, a day that will live in infamy, just like the Pearl Harbor, and we have to thank our veterans today. People still, the Vietnam vets still are looked upon as not good people, and I'll tell you, that's not the truth. My husband's a Vietnam vet, and my parents were, not my parents, but my father was in World War II, and so was his father, and it just, ironically, his father didn't die in the war, but my dad and my uncle and my husband's father, my father-in-law, both died on this day from different causes. When 70 years old, both of them were 70, so on June 6th. I just thought that was kind of ironic because they were both in the Army. So having said that, I'm going to move on. I want to wish all our fathers and my council members here, if you're a father, happy Father's Day coming up on June 18th, because we're not going to be meeting until the day after. And also, on a little different note, a comment, I should have brought this up under new business as well. I think everybody got an email from Denise Ortiz from the Will County Board talking about Midwest Generation and their coal ash issues. Well, I have to tell you, that's affecting our air quality besides the fires in Canada. Every day in the summer, I'm out on my front porch and I'm wiping this greenish, black, oily dust off of my furniture, the glass, the floor, every day. You can do it and it's back again. This has been going on for years. So she would like us to sign a petition to see that propose an alternative clean closure approach, including excavation and removal of the coal ash. So they are currently proposing to close each pond through a capping in place. So they would like us to join forces with them and sign a petition. And then putting it out there to all the residents too, because when you look at that and you think, God, I'm breathing that. And if you have a white railing and you try to wipe that off, you have to scrub it and scrub it and scrub it, because once it rains, then it sticks. It's just very sticky and very nasty. So I would put that out to everybody, but again, along those same lines, be careful with the air, because those are the things we are breathing. And we have to learn as a committee and a community, and this council is learning. We need to be kind to each other, no matter what. And those are my comments. Thank you.
I'm fine, thank you.
I did receive a request for closed session. Is there a motion to go into closed session to discuss personnel, collective bargaining, land acquisition or conveyance pending or threatened litigation, after which the meeting will be adjourned?
So moved.
Second.
Motion seconded to approve. Councilman Guerrero?
Aye.
Councilman Hug?
Aye.
Councilwoman Ibarra?
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin?
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman?
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon?
Oh, yeah,
If you're gonna come Friday at 4 o'clock.
Councilwoman Reardon?
Aye.
Councilman Cardenas?
You're
Councilman
gonna have to
Clement?
keep talking all
Chair
day.
Darcy?
Aye.
Motion carried.
You're gonna have to separate us.